AI as a whole, I think, is overhyped.
What are we getting wrong about AI?
I think the person coming and wanting to adopt AI hasn't really thought about how that fits into their business. Why are we building loads of data centers?
Is that overhyped?
A lot of people maybe don't understand.
Tom Ormsby, founder and CEO of Raiven AI, a Warwick-based AI consultancy helping organisations adopt AI responsibly and effectively. Tom, what are we getting wrong about AI?
I think one of the common things that I see people sort of getting wrong with AI is really probably trying to run before they can walk, or run before they've even really thought about where they're going. People regularly come along going, well, I've seen this news story. Someone said he's managed to, replace 100 jobs with one script and is making billions with this one simple thing that you got for free. How can I do that? And then, obviously, if you scrape back the claims a bit, like you'd see that there's maybe a little bit of people are liberal with the truth about what actually happens in some of these use cases, but also I think the person coming and wanting to adopt AI hasn't really thought about how that fits into their business and what their purpose is.
And in terms of AI adoption, what are the unexpected challenges that a founder might face?
A lot of people maybe don't understand how much maybe ongoing operational effort goes into AI. I think some people sometimes think, oh, I'll just plug it in and then I can ignore it. You don't really realise the risk you're taking until the problem happens. And when the problem happens, it's something that's really hard to come back from. So I think a lot of people at the moment maybe don't realise the risk they're putting themselves at if they go it alone without really understanding the technology.
Let's talk about agents. Is that overhype or is it real?
I lean towards overhype on this. I think ultimately speaking, agents really start from just automation in general, though. They like an automation process. And I think, but I also think there's sometimes it's a case of a pneumatic drill to crack a nut. Like it's you don't need, and sometimes you don't really need an agentic system to do a simple automation, and oftentimes people are looking at things that you can have quite a structured automation that's very deterministic, that doesn't use some of these big AI models. It's both cheaper for you to run and is deterministic. It's auditable.
What else in AI is overhyped then?
I just think. It's sad to say it, but I think AI as a whole, I think, is overhyped at the moment. I think we're in this situation where we're too busy talking about we're too busy talking about like these world-changing sci-fi futures without talking about the realities of what businesses need right now. There's no point in having this. Spending however much money and energy and building all these data centers to train big centralized AI models when we don't know how we're going to use them yet, or even if they're possible. I think we're spending a lot of time trying to create a model that can take any input and deliver any output, which. I mean, you've got a maths background. That's quite a
not great.
Yeah, it's essentially impossible, really. And this is why we end up with sort of strange behaviours. And I think really we need to start thinking more about, well, how do we have focused models? How do we have smaller models? Why are we building loads of data centres rather than focusing on capabilities that we can run on our own device?
So for all the businesses that are within One Mill Street and are trying to adopt AI, when we talk about the strategy and figuring out what a business actually needs in order to move forwards with AI, what do you need to ask yourself?
Having this clear vision of where is it that you want to be in a world where you are using technology is a really good start point. If you're actually looking at places to start, I think a good option is to start looking actually at what are the processes that are causing you the most pain at the moment, and if you can sort of start to identify the ones that are causing you the most pain, you can then take these top few and start to break down. Well, what is the process that's happening at the moment? Why is it causing me pain? And start to question, can I use technology to solve that? And I think what tends to happen is, if you can start mapping out these processes and seeing where the pains are in them, most of the pain is in this one particular step. how can I, this is suddenly more manageable. It's not like me jumping straight to my ground vision. It's starting with a small step that's going to have a really big impact. And really, like, if you focus on that, focus on developing a solution, testing it, and seeing that impact, and then you can start to build from that. So building different workflows, processes from it.
I want to ask about yourself. When you started Raiven AI, and this is an AI startup, what were the biggest challenges that you faced when you did it?
So we founded sort of end of 2022, which was prior to ChatGPT's main launch. So it was prior to people really talking about AI. It really sort of was founded out of this idea, well, if we're reaching this world where these things are becoming massively more available, but we're not prepared for it knowledge-wise, we've not really got the skill set, we've not really got the thinking about, you know, why we're doing it, then surely there needs to be some form of organization that helps people understand that better and adopt it. And that's what Raiven was founded to be. Ultimately, I think ChatGPT then launched, and that you think that might solve the problem to some extent, but actually we created a whole different problem, which is understanding from a different angle of now knowing these things are available, but expecting that it will be a quick plug and play solution rather than a more sort of foundational thinking approach.
A lot of people are hesitant to adopt AI because they're scared of what it could be. What's the optimist's outlook?
We see it with technology with fear, and it doesn't necessarily help that that's possibly the vision that's being presented to us by like the most vocal voices, which is saying, well, actually, we're going to replace humanity with AI, and you will never be able to do anything again. But I think there is another view to it, which is actually thinking, well, if we were to look at that technology more optimistically and say, well, how could it make our lives easier? I guess like a nice analogy would be, I don't know, but before we all had washing machines, you know, we had to hand wash all our laundry. That takes up a lot of time and energy, and no one really wants to be doing that. Correct me if I'm wrong, anyone who really wants to be sat there doing laundry all the time. It's decision fatigue, because it's a decision that, you know, you don't really need to make a particular, it's not really a major decision. Sometimes you just want the decision made and you want the optimal decision. It's a simple rule. It's draining when it adds up. And I think there's this world where fully automated luxury communism, which is sort of an alternate to that dystopian view, which is actually saying, well, if I can get rid of all of the chores of my life and automate all these chores in this future, how would I spend my time? And it sort of, you can create this world where actually my time is actually spent doing things that I want to do, that match my purpose or vision. I can explore things creatively. I can do things that I genuinely want to do. How can we instead look at not how it creates inequality, but how can it create equality and freedom rather than inequality and sort of anti-freedom.
Tom, we have a closing tradition on this podcast, which is where the guest, regardless of who they are, answers this one question. And that is, what is one message that you never sent but you wish everyone would receive?
So I always think there's a lot of sort of gratitude things that we tend to think about that, you know, goes on unsaid sometimes. So for example, for me, I know sort of the times I was at university were quite a big struggle for me in my life, and there were support staff at that university that helped me when times were tough and really like gave me the pep talks I needed to get me through that and get me to where I am today. And I think it's a little bit of a shame that the moment you leave that university, you don't. Yeah. It's kind of creates this little bit of a barrier of going, well, how do I reach back in and say thank you? But I hope they know that they were appreciated at the times when I perhaps wish I could have sent back and said more eloquently, you know, what they did for me and how it's really helped me in the long term.
Tom, thank you so much for your time. I think the main message that I've taken from this is the fact that there's all this noise out there about AI, but ignore it and just focus on what you need in the business, the strategy, the real pain point, and then take it as a step-by-step to actually make them move the needle. And that's been super interesting and useful. So thank you for coming on podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, David.